Hi everyone, yes, so welcome again to our second session. We're gonna have to do that now sometimes. So while I was starting my career, right, I then had the opportunity to travel by train from one region in my community to the next, right, to the next community. And I then on a Friday night had to be on the train, and I was then starting as a bartender, right? And my career started in a very fast paced environment, not realizing the education is that our generation is actually a very fast paced generation. Our generation requires to adapt fast, to listen fast, to have that when you apply in your daily life, that decision making fast daily choices, that is fun and protective. And I can remember starting that. And I can remember how exhausted when I think back of the hours that I was working. I've mentioned it before. Starting 10 a.m. in the morning, finishing 2 p.m., finishing 2 a.m. the next morning, and then having to start 10 a.m. the next morning. And sometimes I would then go from finishing work to the dance club. It's weekend, and I would dance through the whole weekend while I was employed. And while I had to work 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. shifts, I would then go and dance until 5 a.m. and then start the next morning again. So my career, I was then required to do that so that I can sense the environment of being a young person and what you can be challenged with being young, right? I remember then having to go and study, and I made the decision when I finished my matric year to rather not go and study. It was cold, it was a June month, I was on my way to Cape Technical, and I really was tired, I was exhausted, and I decided, you know what, let me take a break and let me not do this. I don't know how I'm ever going to study again, and whether I will ever get the opportunity again, until someone arrives right in the dance club one day in the bar, and the person said it, you know what, you look like a very professional career woman, and you actually don't look like a bartender, like a waitress, and you actually look like someone who's very well educated. And I remember listening to that person that day, and the realization came that I need to somewhat make a change in my life. Not realizing how I'm going to do it, not realizing how it would be funded for, but just that mere thought of someone that looks at you and that exactly realizes and notices what you exactly represent, right? It is not someone who came into the bar and look at someone and says that I actually see a bartender here. But it's when people look at you, they say that they can notice that you exactly represent that type of person. You exactly represent to be there in office or there in office. And I always say that I sometimes I'm not gonna require people to misinterpret my about business, to misinterpret my opinion based on my videos, to misinterpret who I represent and what I represent in my season, because everything that I educate in season is that requirement for our generation to listen to my experience, my opinion, my journey. But the fact that I'm now not sitting in the environment of where someone is now lost amongst all that they have had the opportunity to experience, and they have had the opportunity to really listen to, and to really sense, and to really get familiar with the environment. And now you go and sit back and you now go and say that that's now an amazing journey. No, it's an education for someone else who finds themselves in the craziness of the youngness, of the youthness, of the bartenderness maybe of our generation. And the person maybe thought, you know what, this was it for me. Maybe it's for someone who find themselves young, and you still have to take that journey of having to experience the different things in life, and what life really brought, what's really handed to you in life, right? What's really that life provides for every one of us. That is that on the day that Ribea Elise says, but who's gonna discover you on that day? And it's exactly those choices that discovers us, and that we sometimes don't realize that sometimes can become part of your daily routine, that you maybe find yourself on a journey. Your journey is maybe that you were discovered by the youngest of environments, by the youngest of parts of the universe, that requires you to now get experience in all of those amazingnesses of going to the dance club, of being fine with it, of having a drink with friends, of being fine with that environment, of going to experience different lifestyle choices, in different environments. And in all of that, the question is the office requirements of our office teams to then accept even the you that has gone through all of these different lifestyle decisions to now be the person that's employed, whether employed in an office environment or whether employed in a normal business. It is that you, whether employed with owning your own normal business, but it is that you would have to allow yourself to get familiar with that you in season. That is the Ribea Elise with the restructuring in a generation, that some people are scared to listen to Ribea Elise's videos. Some business owners find themselves not wanting someone who's gonna give an opinion, and that's not exactly them. Some business owners decide that they only want to listen to someone because this Ribea Elise's opinion might be challenging to them, and some business rather decides that they rather want to still misuse and abuse the world, and therefore they would rather not listen to someone like Ribea Elise in the discussion room. And it is that sometimes I start my live videos and the video go off and the Wi-Fi goes off, and it is exactly those moments that some people want to hide away, because some parliamentary leaders want to still manipulate young children into gangsterism, want to still manipulate young women into prostitution, want to still manipulate our generation in looking for the mistake maybe in a Ribea Elise's person's social media page, want to maybe look for the mistake in someone else's social media page. But it is exactly that young people have been firm and have made a choice to not go and be the skivvy of a parliamentary leader that now sends a message for young boys to now go and kidnap women, and to now go and kidnap this woman or kidnap that woman, or this Ribea is maybe starting a business, and maybe business owners and parliamentary leaders, that process of wanting to control and rule the world. And then you learn that even the police sometimes are in on those discussions, that young boys sometimes have to go and kidnap women, young boys sometimes have to go and abuse women by instruction of parliamentary houses, by instruction of police, because no one can ever manage the situation in a way that is fine and protective for everyone. Everyone sometimes want to find a way around it. They switch my Wi-Fi off because they exactly know what we are going to discuss. And they sometimes the Wi-Fi providers work along with the whole process of women abuse in this world. It is that we sometimes have to learn who's going to be a Wi-Fi provider also, because they're also working on instruction from government leaders, and where everyone want to find fault with everyone rather than managing the process in a way that's fine and protective for everyone. And therefore I urge people to not be silenced out because of your opinion or your lifestyle choice, but it is that there's so much that can be done that everyone in our generation would find themselves fine with. There's so much that parliamentary leaders can do that's non-abusive to the next person. There's so much that when I started my full-time career in human resources at Nibblebirds, there's so much that went on at Nibblebirds that if I could count it on my 10 fingers, then it would be crazy for me to explain it to someone. Because people Googled in, the Googling video is in the office, the Googling video goes to a certain country, and certain parliamentary leaders sit around the discussion, and they pretend that they are working on a process, and the team in office are exactly like they really sometimes don't know what's happening, and sometimes some managers really know what's happening in the office discussions when it comes to world ruling processes. They really sometimes know information that goes to government, and how government sometimes manages offices, and how women are sometimes being tuned in into offices, being looked into offices, and being decided upon when it comes to the world ruling, when it comes to women abuse. It all starts somewhere, and every part of our generation is a part of the abuse that happens in our generation. And therefore, it would be easy for women to say that you're not going to give your opinion, but it would be fine for women to say that I would actually give my opinion because the situation is abusive, whether someone wants to listen to the opinion or not want to listen. But this is our generation in general. The cameras are being Googled in it, the Wi-Fi providers team knows about it, the craziness of how women then find themselves challenged in life journeys in their careers, and the craziness of how you go and apply for a job and how the conversation goes, that I don't want that person because that person stays at that house, I don't want that person because that person stays at that community. The craziness of how even the businesses in our world, in our generation, are abusive to the employees that works in office. And therefore, for women working at the office, we really want to advise to be conscious of the type of jobs and the type of job opportunities that are sometimes being given you, and that you sometimes have to agree with a lot of processes that sometimes can result in women being targeted. And therefore, I've always educated that with restructuring and with your office opinion, I always educate to have your opinion be firm on the protectiveness of you. I remember starting at Nibblebits and how people used to say how people are dying who's employed at Nibblebits, and I'm thinking, but why are you all telling me that? And it's exactly how businesses are sometimes targeted and targeting the one the other. That is that when we get our teams of people, we said that for our hotel industry, it would be good for countries to have their own people that I remember how they want to how they wanted to restructure South Africa, right? So in South Africa, every family member have a business office that they manage, right? And the family members then, it was required to be implemented in both Cape Town as well as every different region in South Africa, where business owners are based on the different family lines would manage businesses and would then make sure that family members of the different businesses are employed at her business. And her business would then represent certain communities. And if it's not certain families or households, then it would be the business represent that community, the next business represent that community, the next business represent and fund that community.